Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. We're almost to 5,000, less than 100 people away. I know we didn't hit that 9-7 goal by Texas LSU, but I'm so thankful for everyone that helped, rally behind Tran and I and help push the channel forward. We're very, very appreciative, and we're going to get there soon. So if you like us, if you've been watching our videos for a while and been on the fence about subscribing, please subscribe. We'd appreciate it. You'll get notifications, or you can sign up for notifications. So as the video gets posted or we go live, it'll hit you on your phone or mobile device, and be able to check us out. So first off, just very, very thankful. Guys, we got to tip our hats to the LSU Tigers. Coach O's team came in here on Saturday. We didn't protect our house. We lost 45-38. Fantastic game. I do agree with a lot of people that said it was instant classic. I'm not even up to the half in terms of my rewatch and really rewind, slow back, really diving into it, kind of like a coach's tape thing. But I wanted to make this video to address comments. For those of you who saw the post I made today in terms of whether it was questions or comments, just wanted to talk to you guys and address things that people have been talking about. And before we get into our full review from a LSU standpoint with Billy and Tran later in the week. But, like I said, congratulations to the LSU Tigers, their fan base, all the folks that we had a good, healthy back and forth with, about our football teams. I think both fan bases learned a lot about the other team. I think conferences and the perception of certain programs, the perception of certain coaching staff, the perception of certain players, whether it was Sam Ehlinger, whether it was Tom Herman and the Texas program and where Texas is at, the LSU program, where they're at with their new offense, how good certain guys are like a Joe Burrow, that wide receiving core. I think we got answers through week 2, but I think we got some real answers and real feedback. And I think, like I said just now, we both learned about each other's program, and I'm seeing a healthy amount of respect both ways given between these two teams. And we love football, right? Football first. That was a treat that those kids gave us on Saturday night. I felt like on both sides things were left out on the field. And, from the perspective of the Texas Longhorns, we came up short. In terms of, as I'm reviewing the game, I'm going through and saying, kind of like what Colin Cowherd does on his show, where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong. Very similar with kind of how I'm looking at it, right? Like, what are some things where I was just dead wrong? There were many of them. And what were some things that I nailed, or I was able to kind of sniff out pregame regarding both teams. So there's just notes that I've been taking. There's several of those on both ends. I would say the biggest talking point coming out of the game, because I'm not going to go through and do the review right now. This is just going to be fan talk from the comments we've received, and then that'll be pretty much the video. Possible live chat coming into the week. We'll see. All right. So if you didn't feel like something was addressed or didn't get the question in and you want to talk directly, we can go back and do another live. Speaking of live chats, I know I posted the live, our emotional reaction after the game. Some people hit me up and said, hey, you guys were super emotional, or, there were some cuss words y'all let go. If you're offended by the cussing that we had in the post game, I apologize. But the same token, that was literally how I felt in the moment. And just want to throw this in there real quick. I wasn't emotional or upset. I was upset with how, in the manner in which we lost, and because it was such a close contested game that I thought we could win and we had a chance to win. And so when you let those go for various reasons, and a lot of it was LSU taking it from us. Let me be clear about that as well. All of you have emotions, and as I step away the next day, I'm able to breathe. But I like to watch those back myself just to see what I was thinking real time. And in the moment of the game, that's one of the reasons why I made this channel, is to this is kind of like my digital journal of my emotions and my experiences as a fan for myself. So just wanted to address that. I don't think we were out of line or anything like that, but there were some things that Tran and I, we were both, you could see the raw emotion from us, coming out of there, trying to find, parking, all that. So just wanted to address that. The rest of the video, I'm going to talk about one topic, the biggest topic that's come up from the comments that I've read, and we've had hundreds of comments, text messages, DMs, whole bit. Biggest thing is the 3rd and 17. So I will address that, and then I'll get into just answering questions directly. I said, I yelled about the 3rd and 17 and the Todd Orlando. And look, my theory is this, and this is why I said I didn't agree with the Blitz call. And I know we're kind of split on that, I believe, as a fan base from a UT perspective. Some people believed that he made the right decision to blitz. He got burned. Some people believe he shouldn't have blitzed at all, sat back, and, let things play out how they may. Now, here's my reasoning for why we shouldn't have blitzed and what I would have done or what I would have liked to seen in that particular situation. So it's 3rd and 17. LSU is up 37-31. There's a little over 2 minutes left in the game. I believe we had one timeout. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So, this is basically like if they convert, and in this case they score a touchdown, we're now on life support with the DNR. Like, that's where we're at, right? So we have to get off the field and get the ball back for our quarterback. And I think whether you agree with the blitz or you don't, same line of thinking. I would have preferred to see, if you're going to show the blitz look, I would have preferred to see some type of bluff. Maybe we roll up there. We have a couple guys, maybe even showing double A gap or whatever, and they bail. They bail out, and we play the sticks. And really, I would have liked to see we rush 3, drop 8. I'm talking about an extreme drop, too. I'm talking about guys under. When I say underneath, I'm talking about underneath the receivers that are leveraging routes, and then guys behind, whether it's the safeties or whoever, and we're playing the sticks. And I'm going to concede whatever within the first, I'd say 10 to 12 yards of the line of scrimmage. I'm just going to concede that, because what I want is for him to get the ball out to check it down, and we make it a tackling drill. And I think that's our best chance to get off the field based upon A, how the game was going, and B, we blitzed on 2nd down to generate the sack. Brandon Jones was the one that comes up with the sack to force the 3rd and 17. We went with not the same blitz again, but a similar concept of the zone blitz where Brandon Jones comes again. So now I'm sending guys who are some of my better guys on the back end that I trust. If they don't get home or they don't force the ball to get out quick against a veteran quarterback who does figure out how to evade the rush the second time, gets his protection set just well enough, and now my guys who have been struggling all night long are back there on the island in trail, and they lose. They lose badly, right? Caden Stearns can't even get Jefferson out of bounds, and that's the game, right? I know we were on life support with DNR, but, essentially it's very, very slim chances at that point. So I would have preferred to see some type of shell coverage. We play the sticks, and here's why. People say, well, if you do that, Joe Burrow's been shredding you the whole game. I get it. And he was accurate. He was throwing dots left and right. I told y'all about these 3 brothers, Chase, Jefferson, and Marshall. I've been talking about them for months. They were a problem. They all over 100 yards. I get all that. You got to play the scenario as well, though. And when it's 3rd and 17 and LSU has the lead and they're up 6, what are the chances if you have 8 guys in coverage and they essentially have enough people to double 3 of those guys down the middle of that deep downfield? What are the chances that Joe Burrow takes that risk against that many people back in coverage versus him dodging guys off of a blitz, and now it's a broken play and it's one person downfield? I like my chance. I rather him throw into a cloud and take that risk, because that now gives us an opportunity at a potential turnover versus the risk. To me, it was too risky, especially considering you just got home on second down. I know a lot other people saying, hey, our best chances, most success we had was with the blitz. Well, not all 3rd and 17s are created equal. That 3rd and 17, again, is they're up 6, and they don't necessarily have to get the first down. They really didn't. They could have, whether run the ball. You've seen teams in that situation, play safe, run, try to get us to use the last time out, play punt game, back us up and say, hey, you got to go 90 yards and get a touchdown against us. Now, to counter that, if you're LSU, you're like, hey, we had to be aggressive right there because our defense was getting shredded like crazy and gave up 31 points in the second half. So, it's a game of mental ping pong there. And, of course, right now I'm literally playing Monday morning quarterback. But I said that real time. I still firmly believe, and that's just, it's subjective. My philosophy in that situation, I don't care if it's Tom Brady or whoever, I want to see you stick the ball in there and make a contested-ass throw versus me. If you pick up that blitz or evade the rush or somebody misses a tackle, now I can lose badly on the backside. So we got burned by that. First comments, some of the ones we had on the Facebook page. Shout out to Red Yates and Dwayne Kanai, who both brought up Crampgate. So there's been a lot of talk about all the LSU players that were cramping up, and was it a conditioning issue? Was it a dehydration issue? Is it something that LSU is notorious for from a sportsmanship standpoint of trying to slow down the action, tempo getting too much for them? Guys in third quarter, and this is something I was right about. I knew we were going to be able to assert our will, especially in the area of time of possession, right, and dominating at certain points of the game with our offensive of moving the football. What was so time possession, Texas 33-26, and so that was something we nailed here, right? Because one of the things, again, I told you guys, LSU moving to the spread, they're going to have quicker possessions, and one of the things we're able to do is we do a good job of possessing the football. So hopefully LSU fans saw what I was talking about there. So 33-26 definitely had where we wanted to be in terms of time possession. But one of the flip sides to that is guys starting to fall down, cramping, a lot of it occurring obviously in the second half. My only thoughts on that is this. You can get, if you're the NCAA or football in general, however you want to do it, probably most you don't see it as much in the NFL, but the NCAA, I would say this: if you come out, you shouldn't be allowed, like for something like that, you shouldn't be allowed to go back in the very next play. I don't know how you diagnose that or whatever, but you got brothers coming out, and then there's like a for one play, there's a 2-yard loss, and then he's back in on third down. I don't like that. And it's happening repeatedly. I think you should have to sit a series. Let's, from a player safety standpoint, if we're going to play that game, I think players would think twice about if it's legit or if it's not. Now, cramps do happen, and it was 100-plus degrees on the playing surface, and it was something that Coach O did bring up pregame in his press conference about the temperature and his guys and all that. I know they're from Louisiana and, Bayou boys and all that, but apparently heat is an issue for them. You obviously didn't see that happening a lot with Texas guys, if at all, but for them it was an issue. But my thing is the adjustment I would look into making, because you really have to study that and break down a lot of different games and where it's happening, is if it's a serious thing, you sit a series, so let's make sure you're hydrated, let's make sure you're ready to go. But the whole one play back and then one play you cramp and then you're back again after another play, I'm not with that. So those are my thoughts on it. I'm not going to cry about it a whole lot because I don't think it had it impacted the outcome of the game. So I don't want to spend more time on that than what I have to. Another thing that Red Yates brought up in his post to us was, first off, just addressing, hey, we have to play LSU again. We're going to Death Valley next year. Who are the guys that are leaving on their side, and what we need to address. Obviously, Joe Burrow's, going to be He's a senior. He's going to be off to the NFL. Potentially Rashard Lawrence on defense. Grant Delpit's going to go to the league. Christian Fulton's going to go to the league. Christian Fulton had some struggles there, especially with Brennan Eagles. As much success as he had with Colin, and we'll get to Colin stuff potentially. Christian Fulton struggled on the other side with Brennan Eagles. Grant Delpit, leading into the Devin Duvernay stuff, as well as Grant Delpit played early. He did, my man Devin Duvernay treated him like a speed bump. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny, but like that was very violent. Got him out there on the edge, and he ran right through him. It was literally like a speed bump. And that's one of the guys who will be a first-round pick, All-American, all of that. And, he made his presence felt right away in the game. But our guy, Devin Duvernay, and a guy that I got a lot of crap for all the comparisons I made and the impact he was going to have on the game. As you guys see, co-Big 12 Player of the Week, all the accolades he's been receiving, 12 catches, $154, unbelievable 2-touchdown performance for him. Rashard Lawrence, he had some injury stuff happen to him as well. So just those are some things, but right now I don't want to go too much into next year's matchup. So much can change between now and then, but certainly something that we'll talk about a lot more in the offseason. Rashawn Johnson, Roe, a lot of people talking about it, and Red brought it up, so I'll address that now. A lot of talk about, should Roe be our starting tailback over Kiana Ingram? Should Kiana Ingram lose his job? No. And you guys heard me in the post, the live reaction. I told you how much I love Rashawn Johnson. I tweeted it. I love him. He's a football player, and he's going to be a hell of a football player for Texas. And he had an unbelievable performance considering the circumstance. I know his stats don't jump off the page, but knowing where this young man came from just a couple weeks ago at a completely different position, completely different room, and the heart, the talent that he showed against a top-tier opponent, top-tier athletes, it's incredible. With that being said, Kiana Ingram is a very, very, very good running back who had a very, very, very bad night. I don't think you should lose your job off of one bad performance. Like, just a week ago, we were raving about his, what he was doing against Louisiana Tech. Him even coming off of a really nice freshman year where he was injured for most of the year and still had some really good performances. And he had some games last year where he played well in big games. He struggled, yes, we're talking about the drop that, you lose by 7 and you look at that drop right there. We go for it twice. Just to address that real quick, I said I still stand by this. Totally agreed with the decision to go for it the first time. Love the play call. I love it when coaches are decisive and have a play ready to go, anticipating the defense. Everything went well except for the catch. So that play goes down as it did not execute. Got everything else we wanted. Second time, I didn't like it. Thought we should have kicked the field goal, taken our 3 points considering how that drive went down. But getting back to Kiana Ingram, he's a very, very good running back. He had a tough night. I thought he actually started out early. Like, just looking back at the tape, like the screen game, he looked good. I know he got tackled early by Grant Delpit, but he was running hard in between the tackles. His confidence went in the toilet after those 2 plays. And nobody was more disappointed or let down or frustrated or whatever else you want to use to describe the situation than Kiana Ingram. So we can't, especially at a position where we lack depth. We need both of them. That's the real answer to the question. We need both of them. And, we need other guys to come back, right? We can't just ride through the season with 2 backs. We don't know when Jordan Whittington's going to come back and what the condition is going to be. Hopefully he's going to be healthy in a few weeks, but we don't know how long it's going to take to heal, especially with an injury that he's having a second surgery on. But Kiana, trust me, this Rice game coming up, this is going to be a game where you try to get him the ball 20 times and get his confidence back up. Tom Herman talked about post-game, just having a conversation with the young man and getting him back in good spirits. They didn't like his body language after that. He was down. It's probably one of the first times in his football career he's gone through this. So I don't think now is the time to go right into should he lose his job? Like to me that's one of those Monday morning overreactions, right? He had a bad game, just like I thought Todd Orlando struggled, and I'm gonna get to something to where we should probably ease up on Todd Orlando later on that somebody else brought up. But I'm still with Kiana Ingram being my main man. Roschon Johnson continuing to learn the position, not putting that burden on him, and really keeping him in the role that he's in. Now, if Kiana continues to struggle and he shows he doesn't bounce back, one of the things I wanted to also address is great teams and great players answer and respond to adversity. Right now is one of the best moments of learning for Kiana Ingram, one of the best moments for this coaching staff to teach Kiana Ingram, Stan Drayton, Tom Herman, those guys to wrap themselves around that young man in a positive light and pick him up because he'll be stronger for it. Some of you guys are the same people that were so quick to throw Sam Ehlinger under the bus when he had these same moments as a young player. When, whether it was Tech or USC fumble, whatever, it happens. It happens, and it sucks, and we lost. But let this be a teaching moment. I don't think the young man should lose his job. Jay Reed wants to discuss the difference in halves. I believe we went in to halftime down 27, and then we still lose, but we were pretty much unstoppable, especially that third quarter. Really, the whole half, 31 points. LSU built margin. That was the difference. LSU built margin in the first half, and they maintained their efficiency on the offensive side of the ball. Now, LSU's defense. You'll have these LSU fans that say, hey, they got tired and all this. That's by design. We want the tempo and the plays and the time possession. It's designed to get you tired, limit effectiveness. We've seen this, and football's changing, guys. Football's changing. That's, a lot of these high-scoring national championships where you see these high-level quarterback play and spread offenses, some of these defenses. I remember that one year Bama lost at Clemson to Deshaun. Bama's defense was on the play for almost 100 plays. You're not going to be effective after so many snaps. I don't care how good a defense you are. And look at all those guys on Alabama's defense that gave up all those points that night. They ended up being first, second, third round picks in the draft. Doesn't matter. So, the LSU thing about the excuses, the only way you were going to get out of that is by locking us up to where we weren't even getting first downs. And that was not the case. And, LSU on their side, 573 yards of total offense. Texas side, 530 yards of total offense. So both offenses, when they got humming, got everything they wanted and then some against very talented players on both sides from a defensive standpoint. I just thought the difference in halves, to answer Jay's point more specifically, I thought Texas, we were a little amped up. Obviously, the 2 goal line, series where we missed. We didn't get points. Now, if we had gotten points on the first one, we don't even get the second opportunity for the pick that Joseph Osai had because we were only down there because it was a turnover on downs. So we have to consider that as well. But the missed opportunity there gave LSU enough margin to close the game, with margin there. That's the only difference. Bill Curlin brought up a fantastic point. I just mentioned earlier about Todd Orlando and why we should give him a little bit of slack in regards to this LSU game. I still believe Todd Orlando is a very, very good defensive coordinator. I think he has some young personnel that he's still learning. And I think Todd Orlando is going to show you guys how good of a defensive coordinator he is as you guys see these kids develop throughout Big 12 play. I'll just leave that there. But Will Curlin sent me a DM and said, Steve, we were the first team to face Joe Brady, because Georgia Southern, he's like, they ran like 4 or 5 plays. They ran base against Georgia Southern. So we were really the first team to face the full suite of what Joe Brady had to offer. And Todd Orlando had to download a lot of information quicker than usual because he had no tendencies to go off of other than watching New Orleans Saints tape. But that's with the Sean Payton slant and so forth, right? So I think that's a fantastic point. Just because you come from a certain offense doesn't mean that's exactly the nature of how you call plays. That just means those are the type of plays or concepts we'll use. But in terms of when they'll be deployed, like you see Joe Brady, it's very clear he loves the over route. He was using that route against Georgia. He used a ton against us. They were successful all night to Jefferson. They scored a touchdown countless times. Those concepts, he loves to clear out the other side. We actually talked about the over route a little bit in our prep from some of the stuff I saw against Georgia. And then they combined that with the RPO stuff. Todd Orlando, you could tell, forget the corners and forget the safeties and all that, because all of them struggled. You could tell he couldn't get a read, though, in terms of getting those quick pressures, because it's a chess match, right? So Joe Brady, as he's seeing some of the blitzes and what the angles and how quickly some guys are coming from and where Todd Orlando likes to bring them, he's now dialing up screens or pressures or whatever around it, making sure their protection is just good enough so Joe Burrow has time. We also underestimated Joe Burrow's mobility, I felt like, as a team. There were too many times where we didn't keep good enough contain on him and didn't respect his legs. I thought that's something that not enough people are talking about. Some of it was just pocket movement too. His ability to slide on the 3rd and 17 and hit Jefferson. So, Will, I think you're spot on, man. I think we do have to give Todd Orlando a little bit. It's not like Todd Orlando versus, whether it's Gundy's offense or what Lincoln Riley likes to do in Oklahoma. He has so much, where he's coached against. There's so much data and film that he can go back to, and he has a good idea of people's tendencies. He didn't have that against Joe Brady, so it's tough. It's tough. I think, it's a different football game, week 2 versus week 10. And I think, while I believe LSU Alabama is going to turn into a shootout, because you look at both their offenses and Alabama, what they gave up in the playoffs when they faced really good quarterback play versus Kyler Murray and Trevor Lawrence, I think that's going to be another shootout there, right? But at least Alabama will have the advantage of seeing a lot more of what Joe Brady likes to do. I made a Cowboy video earlier about Kellen Moore and his success early on as a Dallas play caller. But one of the things we'll have to adjust to is as people get used to his tendencies, what he likes in certain situations. Right now, LSU has the advantage of, we don't know that about Joe Brady. So I think that was a really big deal, really big call out by Will Curlin. Appreciate that comment. CLB wanted to talk about Devin Duvernay in my comp, and he said, I nailed that, and I appreciate that, man. It wasn't just, a comp to him, but you even look, again, my Cowboys with Randall Cobb this weekend and how he worked out of the slot. The speed, the strength, the hands, moving to the right spots against the zone, beating man all the time. Devin Duvernay was outstanding, and at times put this team on his back. You see the upgrade from a speed perspective from a little Jordan Humphrey out of the slot and generating the big plays. We had multiple big plays against LSU on Saturday. And Devin Duvernay, I said it, I tweeted it. He's been ready. He's just been waiting on Texas. That's what it's been. We've never had the scheme or the plan to truly play to his strengths and what he can bring to the table. And he's a phenomenal football player. He made himself some money on Saturday night against top-tier competition. He took out a blowtorch on Vincent, and I know he's the guy that was struggling. But whether it was Christian Fulton, whoever came over there, Grant Delpit at times, again, he went over him, speed bump, didn't matter. Devin Duvernay brought it, and we didn't get enough of that from other guys on our team at times, but Devin Duvernay was a guy that brought it. And it's funny because Billy, LSU fan, doing a good job of doing his homework, knowing his enemy. One of the names he brought up that worried him in our preview video was Devin Duvernay, so shout out to Billy on that. I'll have him on. That video will be posted tomorrow, most likely, our conversation as he takes his victory lap, right? So, Lamar Stephens. DBU no more for either of these teams. I don't want to see the DBU shirts. Burn them. I don't want to hear about DBU from either of these schools as of now. Now, in terms of the fraternal aspect and the resume of the schools, yeah, I think it's clear cut that Ohio State, LSU, and Texas are a cut above, and then depending on what metrics, if you want to go by who's had more recent success, or who's had the most picks, or who's had the most Pro Bowls, who's had the most All-Americans. I think those three schools are in the mix. But in terms of what we're claiming right now, and look, I gassed up our safeties, and I think our safeties are really, really good. And shout out to B.J. Foster. I hope he gets well soon with his hamstring injury. That's a big blow for us, and Overshawn's going to have to step up in his spot. But overall, talk about the Cowboy package. We talk about the safeties. Because everybody, rightfully so, said the corners played like trash. It is what it is. We know this. But the safeties didn't play great either, from a coverage, especially from a coverage perspective. And they didn't do enough to help. I think certain guys had good individual performances or made, at times, good individual plays, and they played the run good. I will say this about LSU. LSU didn't run the ball great, but they ran it well enough to keep their offense running and everything honest. There were some breakdowns we had in the run game, but we kept it in check. I think both, but if you had told me before the game we'd have 500 yards, 38 points, we'd win the rushing battle, or we'd win the turnover battle at home. And LSU overcame that. So got to give them credit there. But our safeties didn't help and step up enough the way I thought they would. And guys, honestly, just a playmaking standpoint. Somebody has to do something amazing or incredible, and we didn't really get that from them. Probably the biggest play that any of them made was the Brandon Jones sack right before the play we give up the touchdown. So I don't want to hear about the DBU talk right now. You got to earn on the field. Just earn on the field. Back it up. Go in a Big 12 play against offense. Because, look, guys, again, these type of offenses, and hopefully you guys that watch a lot of SEC football are starting to realize it's really not a conference thing. People crap on the Big 12 about having the worst defenses, but it's skewed because of the offenses and, the amount of plays that are run and the quarterback play. And hopefully you guys are seeing the difference there, because I'm sure you're not accustomed to LSU giving up the points or the yards they gave up. Really, in the Big 12, what it comes down to and why Oklahoma still kind of gets away is because you have to be good situationally defensively. You cannot lock down these offenses. These offenses are modern day. They're built to destroy, especially with the rules and leveraging the rules as well, right? So you have to be good situationally. And that's where Texas lost this football game, was situationally we could never get at least one stop. We couldn't hold Joe Burrow to 420 instead of 470, or 3 touchdowns instead of 4 touchdowns. That's what it comes down to. They were going to get theirs. They were going to get the yards. They were going to get the chunk plays. But sometimes you got to win. And those are why we recruit these certain guys. And that's an area where I was wrong in terms of, not necessarily wrong, but, we didn't show up in terms of how our defense is constructed, because our defense is constructed to stop these type of offenses. But we didn't have, our personnel didn't play well enough, and the coaches at times didn't aid them in covering certain things up. So the DBU stuff, we gotta cut that out. Going into Robert Sanchez's comment, how many players are in their own heads? And then way more blues. Where was the Wolf? I'll start with the Wolf. I think the Wolf is a wounded one right now. I'm not trying to make, I know it sounds like I'm making excuses, but I really don't think he's 100% healthy. And he's not flying around, yes, he had, I think, 9 tackles or whatever, so it's not like he's completely ineffective or anything like that, but he's not playing like his normal stuff that we saw. Tran thinks it's a sophomore slump. I think we need to see more games. If I don't see him looking healthier or faster or making any plays on the ball over these next couple of weeks, whether it's Rice or OSU coming up, I think then we have a reason to worry. So we'll have to see a little bit more from Mr. Caden Stearns. But right now, he's struggling a little bit these first 2 games, in my opinion. How many players are in their own heads? I think all the corners. I think Jalen Green's going to be okay, but I think the corners are in their heads. I agree with you, Robert, about Anthony Cook being in his head. I've heard that from Bill as well. The inconsistency, the growing pains. It's a struggle. Jason Washington and that group, they just got to lock in that side of that room and say, look, we're better than this. And, yeah, we may be young, and, yeah, we might get tricked by stuff, but there's certain technique. Derek Stingley, sometimes young guys got to play with confidence. Derek Stingley's a young guy. And yes, he's number one overall player, top tier guy, and he did his thing on Colin Johnson. No doubt about it. He didn't need to be babysit, but he played with confidence. He hasn't seen everything. And there's going to be times this year where he's going to get completely fooled or he's not going to know his responsibility. It just is what it is, and you learn. But these guys right now, these brothers are struggling. They've been hit hard. They're not playing with confidence. We got to get there. The last thing I want to address before I tie off here, because we've been talking for a while, and these are some really good comments you guys left. And like I said, we'll try to probably go live later this week to get more of this talk in. Autry Welsh, ending on the point about the DBs. Hey, where's the pass rush without manufacturing the pass rush from the safeties and the defensive backs? How come we can't get pressure with 4 guys? Unfortunately, and what I'm starting to see is, I think we're good. Taquan Graham, Coburn, Roach, they're good against the run. They're good against plugging. And they might be able to get a little bit of a push on the offensive line. But they're not Charles Omenihu. They're not natural pass rushers. I don't see them getting there in conference play, and I think Todd Orlando knows that, which is why he has to be so aggressive in manufacturing it himself. And it's a really, really tough place to be when you have weak corners with that. It's a bad combo. We'll say this, though. Texas, the way they're recruiting, you look at the 4 horsemen, Vernon Broughton, Princely, Prince Doraba, hopefully Alfred Collins coming, all these guys, right? Van Fillinger, all these guys coming in. Texas is recruiting pass rushers. They're not here yet. Right now, probably the most natural pass rusher we have is Joseph Osai, and he's having to play a lot of coverage right now. So it's a struggle. I know you brought up Gary Johnson and even Malik Jefferson. I'd like to see some more, maybe sending Jeffrey McCulloch or even one of our faster guys like Juwan Mitchell and some double-A gap stuff. But he's trying to plug holes right now. And the personnel, the guys we have up front, not saying they're not good or not talented, but they don't have the pass rushing ability to generate without being aided by additional speed on the blitzing from our DBs. It just is what it is. That's where we're at right now. But help is on the way with the recruiting. And I think there's going to be a philosophical change of, if you're going to be defending these teams, sometimes you need to get pressure with 4 so you can have 7, sometimes rushing 3, have 8 people in coverage, still be able to put pressure on the quarterback, get the ball out quickly, and now you got more guys in coverage being able to rally and generate turnovers. So, guys, really, really great comments. We'll do more of a traditional review tomorrow with Billy and run through everything. Can't wait to hear the comments for this video. Hopefully I was clear on some of the stuff we went through. I know we dove into a lot here just with fan talk, but I'm so thankful for you guys, so I wanted to give back and just make sure I addressed some of the comments I highlighted. Again, hundreds of comments, try to read as many as I can to get through them, but I'm very, very thankful for you guys and this chat, and I'm going to sign off here. But guys, I am very encouraged for the rest of our season. I believe we only fell to 12. I believe we're the highest ranked 1-loss team currently, and everything's still in front of us for our goals. Tom Herman has said this as well. We get to really measure ourselves against an elite opponent. I believe, this is by far the most talented defense we'll play all year. And I think in a lot of cases, LSU also got to level up and measure themselves against an opponent as well, if they're being honest, right? So overall, great game and excited for the rest of the season. Starting with Rice, going 1-0 this week. But guys, Horns always up.